UNCUT programs or jobs. I also come from a business background. I'm the only candidate that's not a lawyer. And I have a history of creating jobs, starting businesses, and I'm for small business people, and I want to take the experience I had at the county level and move it to the state level.
Thank you very much for joining us on Cartersville Uncut, Greg Bowen.
Thank you.
Get it, Murray. Right now I'm with Chief Culpepper. He is the Chief of Police for the City of Cartersville. Nice to meet you, Chief.
Nice to meet you.
How long have you been doing this?
I have been in law enforcement for 31 years. I've been the chief here, will be 3 years this coming November. I've been in Cartersville for about 25 years.
And what's the state of crime in Cartersville right now? How are we doing?
We're doing pretty well. I would like to say that we have zeros in all our categories. Unfortunately, we do have some people who tend to venture outside the law, but overall our crime rate looks good. It's lower than it was last year and the year before, so people are behaving more, or we're doing a better job. And I like to think it's the community being involved in helping police itself and reporting more crime, and therefore people know that it's being reported so that they do less.
How are DUIs in Cartersville?
DUIs are good. They're fairly low. There's only been 21 DUI arrests to date in this calendar year, so which is very low. Yeah.
That's not bad.
No.
So people are taking cabs or not out there drinking and driving?
Yeah, they're more aware of their limits, and they're going home, or they're having designated drivers. I think education has played a big part in that.
Somebody on my Facebook page said about the Cartersville Police Department that he didn't think the city police were out to get you as far as setting up speed traps and trying to just generate revenue.
Right, yeah, the police department is never intended, or should never be intended, to be a revenue source. Whatever comes in through our enforcement efforts actually goes into the general fund, so it's dispersed throughout the city as it needs for expenses. So there's not a cost benefit for us to write more tickets. We do the enforcement that's necessary. So we don't tell people you need to write more tickets, or you need to write X number amount of tickets. We just tell them they need to enforce the law fairly and do it with whatever's appropriate at the time. Sometimes a warning's appropriate. Sometimes a citation or arrest is appropriate.
Is anything really improving? Like, I read, unfortunately, about these big meth busts here in Cartersville going down 75. Mm-hmm. Is that going on a record here? Like we're just a...
Well, that's kind of everywhere. It's endemic. That seems to be somewhat the drug of choice, because it's easy to manufacture. There's a process out there now where people actually ride around and manufacture it in plastic Coke bottles while they're riding around, so they don't have to set up an elaborate lab system.
Wow.
So it's still out there, and it's very dangerous for both the officer making a traffic stop and the person that's cooking the meth, that's running that process, because they have to pay very close attention to it. So it becomes a dangerous process. If they ignore it during a traffic stop, it can erupt and explode and cause injury to people. So it just kind of evolves into that. So meth is still out there. Our drug task force, we have a combined city-county drug task force. They work diligently and are constantly making arrests and working cases on that. So yeah, there is drug activity out there, but I think we're making headway.
What about right now? And we have some pretty hard economic times. domestic violence?
Domestic violence, I have seen the times where it is worse. We still have a number of domestic violence calls, but a lot of those are, to be honest with you, are coming from calls where people get in arguments and there's no actual violence that goes on, but because it comes in as a domestic violence complaint, the documents that go along with that reflect that. So it's kind of a skewed statistic. There are some domestic violence reports in our database, but they're not all involving actual violence, or most of them don't have physical violence in them. They're just arguments, and it's done for documentation purposes.
I've been pulled over a few times since I've been here. I've been here about 3.5 years, and I just want to tell you, you guys have been nothing but professional and polite, and I appreciate it.
Well, thank you. That's nice to hear.
Yeah, I mean, it's serious, but they're very polite, very professional. It's no attitude. It's just, and that's nice. Do you train them to do that, or is there any classes on that, or they just do it instinctively?
Well, we do encourage that type of approach. That, you know, there's no sense in, how do you say this? There's no sense in being the south end of a northbound mule all the time. You know, you can take a break. You don't have to treat people as a criminal until you have reason to know otherwise. Now they have to make sure that the stop is safe and that, you know, they're practicing the proper officer safety. But you can be courteous and polite and be safe at the same time. So we encourage that. And, you know, my emphasis has been with everything else. I always emphasize the ethics and integrity side of law enforcement, because I believe all those things hook together. If you have those two things, and you have all the other necessary elements in law enforcement, which includes understanding who you're talking to and how you need to talk to that person, and that there's a time to, when the intensity requires it, to step up that intensity. There's also a time to back it down, you know, to speak civilly, and which is 99.9% of the time. You just treat people the way you'd want to be treated. The golden rule applies.
Chief Culpepper, thank you for joining us on Cartersville Uncut.
Well, thank you very much.
Right now I'm with James Hall. He's the owner of JDH Electric here in Cartersville. How you doing, James?
I'm doing good, David. How you doing today?
Good. James is a new advertiser with us on Cartersville Uncut. How long have you been in business here?
David, we've been in business here in Cartersville about 2.5 years. Been pretty successful with it, and appreciate the people in Cartersville and Bartow County and surrounding areas that have used us for electrical service.
So you've been here, you lived long here in Cartersville?
We've lived in Cartersville. My wife and I have a son who's 5. We've lived here 6 years now. We really enjoy the area. We enjoy the hometown feel that Cartersville and Bartow County have.
Absolutely. So what brought you here?
Well, you know, when we moved here, my wife was expecting, and we had some family that was close to here, and I was working a lot. That's when construction was really booming, and the economy wasn't where it is today. But we were close to family, and that just made sense. She was pregnant, and we needed to be close to somebody that was reliable in case anything did happen. So brought us to Cartersville. I'd have to say it was one of the best things we've done. We definitely enjoy and love the area, and enjoy the people. It's just a great town to live in.
Cartersville's a good place to raise kids.
It really is, yeah. My son attends Excel Christian Academy, actually, where he just graduated kindergarten, and really happy with that, and look forward to him growing up in this town, and you know, just hopefully one day I can hand the reins off to him and serve the next generation of people that are in here in Cartersville.
So JDH Electric, what exactly do you do?
David, we do everything electrical, from a commercial standpoint, residential, industrial. If you need a ceiling fan, a light, an outlet, even industrial that needs a motor hooked up or installed for a new piece of equipment, we can do that. We're basically one call for any electrical needs you have.
What about somebody who just needs something simple like an outlet or a ceiling fan?
Absolutely, Dave. There's no job too small for us or too big for us. I have customers that call, they just need a ceiling fan or just want us to come out, or maybe on the phone just need an opinion or, you know, a talking through, and we certainly don't mind doing that over the phone. You know, if we have to come out, of course, you know, sometimes there's a charge involved there. But, you know, we can certainly do simple jobs or small jobs for those who need it, or, you know, bigger jobs for those who might need that.